Welcome to the podcast where we take a deep dive into the stories behind construction business leaders. We will share how they got started, how they found success, and the lessons learned along the way. I'm your host, Eric Fortenberry. Welcome to Builder Stories. Look, welcome to JobTread here at our headquarters.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's beautiful place. It's amazing. Very impressed.
Yeah, well, look, we appreciate you coming down, spending some time. Just gave an awesome talk with our JobTread beginner boot camp downstairs. Had about 75 people down there. I could just see, like, man, you lit the fire. They were pretty pumped up and excited.
Yeah, as you know, when you're speaking, and if you're an unknown and you get in front of people and you see faces change as the conversation starts. At first, and everyone's kind of walled off because they don't know you, and then you start seeing them nodding, and then they'll pick up a pen and write something, and then you're breaking through to them, and you're getting somewhere and you're helping them, and everybody has something else going on in their life. So when you see that breakthrough and you see them nodding and they're like, okay, it's kind of nice to know that you're affecting them more than when you walked in.
Yep. Well, look, why don't you give us a little bit of background? I mean, obviously Steve Rozenberg with the Rozenberg Group, but tell us a little bit more, like, what do you do for contractors? How'd you get into this? Tell us about
it. Probably like many people, this was not my first desire to be a coach for people. I started off, grew up in Southern California, and my parents' blue collar family. And, my parents said, if you want something in life, you got to go get it. No one's going to give you anything. And the one thing I wanted to do is I wanted to be a pilot.
Nice.
And so I didn't know anything about it. I went to the library, I got books, I started doing it in school, and I just put my head down and I worked as hard as I could. And at 25 years old, I became the second youngest person hired by a major airline, by a particular airline. I get hired by the airline. I move out to Guam, out in the South Pacific, flying all over Asia, Australia, South Pacific Islands, and I'm living an amazing life. Love it. And everybody was saying, like, oh, you're set for life. Nothing can go wrong. That was true until a day of history, which was 9/11. And 2 days after the towers fell of 9/11, I get called into an office and I get a furlough notice. And they said, that safe, secure job that you thought you had, not safe, and was never secure. And so after I get escorted out of the building, I remember standing there waiting for a taxi that I didn't have money for. And I remember just thinking, like, I didn't cause this, but what am I going to do? Like, I had nothing to do with this, but now I've got to figure out what am I going to do with my life, because I listened to my parents. I worked as hard as I could. I did what I was told to do. And now I'm on the street with 50,000 other pilots.
No.
So listen, there's a lot of pity goes on, a lot of self-pity, a lot of redirecting of your life. And I went to this building with books in it called the library. Many people probably don't know about it these days, but I went there, I got a library card, and I read a book a week on what do people do that are wealthy? What do they do? And everything kind of tied towards real estate. I didn't know anything about real estate, but everything was tied to it. And I thought, okay, well, I'm going to give it, I got to learn more. So I started reading as much as I could, but you can only read so much. You've got to actually start implementing. So I hired a real estate mentor. And he started teaching me real estate, and I started doing very good. And I was doing what's called wholesaling at the time. So I was basically selling contracts for real estate. And this is back in 2002, not like it is now, and fax machines and stuff like that. And, I started getting very, very good at negotiating. I started learning a lot about communication, selling, and I made enough money that I bought my first apartment complex with that. And that turned into me buying some houses, which eventually turned into me building a property management company for my properties. And then we started marching with me and a business partner. We started building a property management company. And I'd gone back to my job as an airline pilot. And we built it essentially as an airline runs. Processes, procedures, checklists, systems. And we just basically, for lack of a better term, and I'm shortening the story, but we basically put an airline into our company. And we had a business coach, and our coach, walked us through. And in 7 years, we went from nothing to having the fastest growing company in the state of Texas for property management.
Awesome.
We scaled, we exited to venture capital, sold to a company that was $200 million funded. And then I became a VP for them. and they had 10,000 properties. We had 1,000, they had 10,000. During that time, though, we had a lot of subcontractors and vendors that were working for us. We were in Houston, Dallas, and Fort Worth, and probably had about 300 subs at the time. And the thing is when you're growing this fast, you've got to make sure that everyone can stay caught up with you in the growth.
Sure.
So I had to start coaching our subcontractors and our vendors so that they could do the work and fulfill, because if they couldn't do it, it looks bad on us.
Yep.
And so what ended up happening was after I sold, I just, I basically showed them how to run their businesses on processes, procedures, and structure. And after I sold, and I was kind of sitting there saying, what am I going to do? And I was still a pilot. At the time, I was building the business. I was a pilot, flying a Boeing 777. I still am a pilot to this day. I love doing it. I'll never stop because I love it. But now I show people how to basically run their business the way airlines run, how to put processes, how to run their business with systems instead of emotions and gut feelings and data. That's what I do.
Man, that's awesome. You know, the very first profession I wanted to be was a pilot as well. Yeah, but then I don't know. I got told I needed to wear glasses and my vision wasn't great, and I thought, man, that's the end of my pilot career that didn't even start.
That's funny.
But yeah, no, it's maybe one day we'll because I hear you don't have to have perfect vision anymore, right?
Just got to be corrected to 2020.
Okay, gotcha. Man, well, that's super neat. I mean, I always love, and I think that the best coaches are the ones that actually have experience and have truly lived what it's like, and you have experienced the pain for yourself, and you've solved your own problem. Because I think it's very hard for others to just kind of come in and look in and say, oh yeah, obviously that's the issue, and here's what you should do. But like, if they don't have that experience themselves to truly fall back on, I think it can be a little bit harder for them.
Yeah, look, I think at the end of the day, when you're an entrepreneur, and you know this, I'm sure as well as I do, that those nights when you lay your head down on the pillow at night, when you're stressed and you're saying, am I doing the right thing? Am I making something that is either going to be the best thing for me, or am I putting my family on the street?
Yeah.
And it's lonely. It's a very lonely place as an entrepreneur. And we don't always get the guidance. You go to an event like this, which you have downstairs, and you get the camaraderie and everyone gets along, but then everyone goes home and they're alone and they're not sure if what they're doing. And, listen, if you think about, doctors go to medical school to become a doctor. You don't just start cutting people open. You got to go to school. If you want to be a lawyer and you want to, protect someone, you got to go to law school. Pilots, we had to go to flight school. But then you go, where do entrepreneurs go? Now, a lot of people say, oh, it's a school of hard knocks. Well, that's why 94% go out of business. No. And so to me, when you get the right person that can guide you and advise you, you're buying the thousands of mistakes that people have made before you so that you don't make them. Because I always tell people, you're going to pay in time or money. How do you want to pay the bill? Because the bill will be paid. Yeah. And a lot of times we tend to waste what we value the least. Meaning people will waste their time. They'll waste years and years of trial and error when they could just use something that's they're going to make the money again, invest that money, go invest it in themselves. Yeah. And they don't do that. And it's sad, because I'm sure, as you see people that come through your software, a lot of people, they're doing this because they want to have a better life. They want to better themselves. They want to do something different. And sadly, just being a good contractor is not enough. No. It's not. And I tell people, I don't need to be a contractor. I want you to be a business owner. And that's a big paradigm shift, to understand that you own a business. And more importantly, you have people that are depending on you. You have customers, you have employees, and more importantly, you have your family. No. And your family is assuming that you're doing the right thing, doing better in yourself to go provide create great memories. And sadly, we as entrepreneurs, we can die a lonely death inside of not knowing. And it's sad. It really is.
Yeah. It's, I see it all the time. I mean, I interview countless, builders, contractors on the podcast here. And I mean, it's just like, I think there's this natural tendency to, feel like you're alone, when you're at the top, and like, it's, you feel like you don't know if anyone else can relate to you, and like they struggle to find that community. Yes. And I think that's one of the really neat things about what you all are doing, is that like, you're not just providing the coaching, but you're giving these contractors a community. I mean, you just had an event in Houston, last month, where like, I mean, you brought, a couple hundred people from all over together. And like, I think that time is so valuable for people to get to like,
realize like, man, like there are other people going through the same thing that I'm going through, and they're having the same challenges, but like they're here and they can support each other and be that support system for each other. I think like it's invaluable. And I think so many contractors don't realize though that they can go find these opportunities to get involved in this community and to get a coach. Like it really is. It's about time or money. And, I think a lot of people just keep going down this path, doing the same thing over and over and over again, but like expecting some different outcome one day that's just not how the world works.
No. And listen, I think that, when I was growing up, my parents, from their ideology was that hard work hard, do something, work hard, and it will work. I don't know that works anymore.
No.
And I don't fault my parents for telling me that, because that's what they knew. But the hardest worker in the room is not the most successful person, number one. And the person that reads all the books or just goes to all the events and doesn't implement is not. I mean, if that was the case, librarians would be the wealthiest people on the planet, But why do they give books away for free at the library? Because it's potential energy. It's not energy that's in use. And you're right. It is lonely. I get so many people that come up to me at events or conversations, and they're like, "Thank you." They're like, "Finally." And one of the other big misconceptions I have is people think that, just because they're in an industry with someone else in the same city, in the same market, that they're competitors. And I'm like, this world is so huge. I mean, Bob Turner, one of our, my main coach, people were like, "Why are you and Steve friends?" It's like, there's 8 billion people out there on the planet. And I don't think we're going to get them all. But the thing is here's my thing is, if you're truly trying to help someone and you're trying to help them have a better life, does it matter if it's you or someone else, or does it matter the result of giving them that better life? I think a lot of times when we talk about what we want to do, and I think entrepreneurs especially, they focus so much on who they are. Like, I am a contractor. They forget that they're a contractor for a reason, and that reason is to create a better life so they can have memories with their family.
Yeah.
And they get so caught up with the identity of a contractor, they kind of forgot why they were doing it. And I'm sure you do. And I talk to people and I'm like, "So how's that working for you?" And they're like, "It's not. I never see my kids. My wife, I'm a stranger. I've never gone to the gym. I'm out of shape. I got high blood pressure." I'm like, "Why are you doing this?"
Yeah.
Because I'm just going to keep working harder. It's like, they pull the same lever over and over and over again. It's like, if it hasn't worked, what makes you think something like, can you squeeze another hour out of the day? You could, but that's not going to make an extra $5 million in revenue. So maybe you're pulling the wrong lever. Maybe that variable is not the right variable to get you to where you want to go. And I think that's what I tell people all the time. I can be the smartest person in the room, not because I'm smart, but because I'm detached from the situation. So I can look at the situation being 3 feet away from your business and go, I see the problem. Like, it's pretty clear. But as you know, you get tunnel vision. And when you're in the heat of battle, you're just looking right here and you can't see anything. And I think that's what that is invaluable, even in a coaching program, in a community where you get other people that help members helping members.
Yeah.
And I get it all the time in our community where we get so many people that want to help each other. And I think that's what this is about, to me at least.
Yeah, no, I think you're totally right too. And it's interesting to see how, some people feel this like I can't share because that guy's my competitor. And it's like, man, you need to have this abundance mentality.
Absolutely.
There is way more demand than there is supply.
Yes.
And it's endless opportunity, but you got to be able to see it and then seize it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that constrictive mentality, I see it all the time, I'm sure, as you do. And, people are like, "Well, why are you going to give that away? You could sell it." I'm like, or I could give it away. I mean, it's not going to change, and I tell people all the time, when I'm talking to other coaches, and I help a lot of coaches, I give away my stuff. I'm like, if this helps you, man, more power to you. And if this helps you help other people, if that's what we're truly doing and you're really trying to help people, then what does it matter where it comes from? Just help them. And I think sadly, I think it shows true colors of people, right? It shows that they're not an abundant mentality. But also, I think if you see other factions of their life, it aligns with who they really are. And, listen, just because somebody starts a business doesn't mean they're a business owner.
Yeah.
It doesn't give them the right. And I tell people all the time, I go into offices and I work with teams and I look at the culture of the team. And, if I see high turnover, if nobody's on time, that is a leadership problem. And normally it starts, I tell people, the fish stinks from the head down. It starts from the top and it works its way down. So if I go to the bottom guy and he doesn't know the goal of the company, he doesn't know the mission, the vision, the culture, not something on a piece of paper, but something that they talk about at every meeting, like, hey, John, what's the B in our core value? And he doesn't know it. That's a leadership problem.
Yeah.
And it's probably because, and I hate to say this, you're not doing what you need to do as a leader. You want everyone else to do what they're doing, but you're not doing what you're doing. And that starts becoming the selfish mentality where you're like, how do you expect your business to grow when you're not being selfless, you're being selfish?
Yeah.
And that's, to me, kind of the first crack in the armor when I see businesses fail.
So how do you go about, like, kind of, when someone comes to you, you go and you do an assessment of the situation, like, how do you approach this? Like, how do you really dig in to try to understand, where are the challenges? What are the problems that need to be addressed? And then how do you work through that with the client?
Yeah, well, the first thing is it's not what I think, it's what they think and what they want. So the first thing I have to find out from them is, where are you going?
Yeah.
What is your destination? And I call it a sale date for the business, as I was taught, but it's not to sell it, but it's the date it becomes a saleable asset, which means it's running on processes, it's running on procedures, structure, checklist, everything but you. And so that's the first thing. And many times people don't know that, and that's okay, but that's where we start. And I always say, we've got to start with the end in mind, and we've got to reverse engineer it. So the first thing we got to do is say, I can give you all the best advice in the world to become this 300-pound bodybuilder. And you're like, I do ballet. Okay, well, that would have been good to know with your destination. So if I understand where they want to go and why they want that, because many times people may say, I want a $100 million company. Why? I want to be able to retire. You need $100 million to retire? Oh, not really. What do you need to retire? So once I understand the destination, now I can reverse engineer their business. And all businesses have 5 pillars. You have your marketing, you have your sales, you have your operations, you have your financials, and you have your leadership. And that is the foundation of any business. It's the spinal cord, it's the organization chart. Now, if you look at any building, right? If we're going to build a building, you've got to go down. It's a lot of advancement. You've got to go down, build the foundation, and then you go up. The bigger the building, the deeper the foundation. Many people, they start a business and they have no foundation. They don't know their marketing. They don't know their sales. So to your question, the first thing I've got to do is, where is their foundation broken or missing or just non-existent, So once we know where they're going, now we go, okay, what is missing here? And then we just start building the strategy. I believe, it's something as simple as Google Maps. Google Maps, you got to have a start and you got to have a destination. That's simple. If you don't have a destination for Google Maps, it can't help you.
No.
If somebody doesn't know where they want to go, I can't help them either. Between the two, we'll call it the dash line. That is the strategy to get there, just like Google Maps. I believe a business should have 2 organization charts. One for today of what the business looks like, a snapshot, and then one when they have the saleable asset. And based on those 2, now it's a visual. So when I'm hiring people, say, hey, listen, this is where we are right now. This is how big this big company is going to be. And this is where I see your role. And this is the ascension ladder or your career ladder of where you fit in. Because, and again, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but if you're going to build a business is built on leverage, knowledge, finance, expertise, and experience. And people. Those people need to know what is the vision and how do they fit in. It's called WIFM. What's in it for me?
No.
So if they're going to go, well, that's great, Steve. You're going to have a $30 million company. What do I get out of this? But if you can show them, they say one peak is worth 1,000 words. If you show them that visual, now they go, now I see. So I'm like, why wouldn't you have that up on the wall so that everybody sees it? And they're like, I see where we're going. But more importantly, for the ones that don't want that. And I've gone in offices and we've done this and people leave. And the owner will call me. He's like, dude, the guy quit. I'm like, you should be thanking me. He wasn't on board anyways.
No.
And then, after further conversation, they're like, yeah, you're right. He probably wasn't a good employee, or like, why would you want, if an employee is unhappy, it's no surprise to anyone. And why would you want them there? And why would you want them there?
No.
they're not happy. They're not going to do good jobs. They're not going to be fulfilled. It's not helping anybody. I'd rather get someone that likes that vision. They see they want to be a part of it. They bought into the vision. When you think of vision and belief, people go to war over their belief and over their vision. And people will join the military based on someone else's belief and die or get maimed or hurt. People join gangs. They join religions. They join the military. They join football teams because of the vision. So I go back to, if the owner doesn't know the vision, they're not going to inspire anyone to go, which means they're going to have a job. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that you got to start with the end in mind. And this is where I work with people to become the business owner, not just the operator. Anyone can swing a hammer, but it takes a visionary to build what is in your head to go, okay, I got to put it on paper so that people can see it and inspire it.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. We have a business playbook that we've used, we operate on, we give that out. And the very first thing that was like, you got to understand, what is your vision? What is your mission? Like, why are you here?
Yeah.
And I think that is that really is part of the foundation for then building and recruiting and attracting a team of people to help you be able to fulfill that mission and vision. And, I think a lot of people don't have, they just kind of jump straight into it. They just start trying to go and sell and build jobs. And like, they miss seeing the forest from the trees.
Yeah.
And then it like gets overwhelming. And then they don't during those hard times, I mean, it's like any sane, rational person would throw in the towel and quit. Like, why do we as entrepreneurs wake up every day and take the beating?
Yeah.
Well, it's because we have something greater that we're working towards. And really in reality is, I think that like, once you understand that, like, you don't actually see it as that much of a beatdown. Like, each thing that comes about is just another challenge.
Sure.
And it's about, taking it and breaking it down and, figuring out, one step in front of the other to get through it, and being able to appreciate that journey that you're on. I think that helps people. But I see a lot of people that they don't do a great job building a great team.
Correct.
They feel like they're struggling. They just throw bodies at problems. The first person that walks in the door, whether it's their spouse, some family, a neighbor, a friend who's like by no means qualified whatsoever. They're just like, help me. And it's like, man, like, did you even think through what the role of that person is? How are you going to measure success? Like, is that the right
What
person?
do they want? And I even take it a step further of disprofiling.
Yep.
Are they even the right personality to be in that position? Again, if you slow it down, you can speed up, right? And if you take the time, and I'm not sure if you ask clients when they come on board with JobTread about these things, but I mean, I would be curious the success rate of people who have these things in your software and the ones who don't, because I tell people all the time, if you don't have these things, it's kind of like flying. Without fuel, it's just going to take you to the crash site quicker.
Yeah.
And I see people that, they're like, oh, I need to do this business. I'm like, no, we need a foundation first, because now I will say that most businesses, they have a revenue problem, meaning they don't understand how to get repeat recurring revenue consistently over and over again with the right system. And so they're hoping, they're guessing, they're just winging it. They don't know their numbers. They don't know their financials.
Yeah.
They don't know what story their business is telling them. So to me, it kind of goes to show that when you own the business, at some point, your responsibility as the business owner is to step out and start becoming that owner, not the operator, to be able to look at the system as a whole and go, like, if it was, leadership, marketing, sales, operations, these were train tracks and you were missing a section of tracks and we're looking at down from above going, dude, that is where you're going to crash. No, I got a good feeling. we're going to make it. You're like, I'm pretty sure you're going to crash. It's pretty clear to me. And, you see it all the time. And, being successful, and this is what I've learned, and I don't know your take, is it's like baking a cake. There's a recipe for it. And I get people that I know that build businesses, scale them, grow them, exit them. Do they have challenges? Absolutely. Those don't define them. They're like, it's part of the journey.
No.
That's part of the ride we're on. And a lot of people equate having a setback or whatever as their identity. And I'm like, if you look at people that are successful, they're like, I could lose it all tomorrow and regain.
Yeah.
But the one thing I know is they have a successful recipe, like baking that cake. And I get so many people, and I equate it to like, if you put frosting on the cake before you shove it in the oven, is it ever going to be an edible cake? No. But what do? we go back and go, oh, that didn't work. Let me put more frosting on and try it again. And let me try it again. Let me try it again. And I'm like, at some point, you've got to realize it is never going to work. And I tell people all the time, it's a law of sequence. It's not just to have all the right things. You have to do them in the right order.
Yeah.
And I get clients and I'm like, you have all the right tools. You're just not using them in the right sequence. If we just change the law of sequence for you and put them in the right order and put the frosting on when the cake comes out of the oven, it's going to be a much better result.
Yeah.
And so being a coach or being an advisor isn't always being the smartest or having this prolific, thing. Sometimes it's just looking at it differently and going, why do you do that here when you should be doing it here?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm missing something. And they're like, I don't know. That's just how we've always done it. And it's like, well, why don't we try this?
Yeah. I think too, it's sometimes, again, we see a lot of people who they understand that they have a problem. They know that there's an opportunity to do something better, to again, was why they're signing up for JobTread, right? But like, I think there's this kind of this challenge that a lot of people seem to face, and there's nothing more frustrating than like they understand there's a problem, they know they need to do something different, but then they don't implement and they don't hold themselves accountable or hold their team accountable to get these things done that they know they need to do. But then it's like something always comes up and there's always an excuse and there's always some reason. And I think that's where, like, again, a coach can often be, someone who's going to help you learn the disciplines, and again, you're holding them accountable early on, but like they need to learn how to hold themselves accountable and live up to their own standard, which again, maybe it's fuzzy, maybe it's not defined or whatever it is, but like there's nothing more frustrating than having people like, it's so obvious that they know the problem, we see the problem, but like, then they don't execute.
Yeah. And a lot of these people, if we go a couple layers deeper into their life, or into their schedules, they're running reactively. They're reactive lives and they're reactive people, and they're constantly putting out fires. And, and I'm a big believer in virtual assistants, right? And I remember when we were building our company and 60% of our company ended up being outsourced to Mexico with virtual assistants. And there was a study I remember reading, and it was like a 5-minute phone call is 23 minutes of lost productivity. A call that you were not expecting. As an entrepreneur, because you got to stop what you're doing, you got to disengage, you got to deal with an issue, you got to call the person back. Statistically, it's 23 minutes. So if you take that and say, okay, possible that you probably get 10 unexpected calls a day. That's 230 minutes. That's half of your day being reactive.
Oh.
Then at the end of the day, the person, the A client that you were trying to keep that was waiting for the quote, you never call them because you forget or you're getting buried. And you're like, oh, I'll come tomorrow. Someone who's proactive says, no, I'm not doing that. I've got a system to handle that. I've got software to handle that. I'm not going to be reactive. They get the business. And then what happens? They go, oh, no one's buying right now. People are too cheap. It's like, no, because you are being reactive and you're letting that. It's kind of like taking water, throwing it on this table without proper controls. It's going to go wherever.
Yeah.
But if you actually float it and channeled it, it's going to go in the right direction. And I get so many people, they allow themselves just to live a reactive life. And they almost claim victim to it. But I'm like, you caused it because you could, and you heard me talk about this today, like you could reset your day every day and say, okay, today I'm proactive. That's it. I'm done. You just haven't gotten to that point. They haven't gotten to that point of saying enough's enough. And so until they get to that point and they put, people over profit, or they put their systems in place, it's never going to happen.
Yeah. What do you think, like when you kind of just sort of step back and look across the board, like what do you think like the biggest challenges for construction businesses are?
I mean, I hate to say this because it's so cliche, but it's the owner. It's between their ears.
Yeah.
It's because they started off being a good operator, an entrepreneur with a hammer, and they don't look at it as the bigger picture. They're running away from a life they don't want. Maybe they worked for someone, they didn't like the person or whatever reason, so they left. And they left something they didn't want, and they're so focused on what they don't want, whatever you focus on expands. So I ask people, like, are you running away from fear or running towards pleasure? Most people are running away from fear. They don't really know. I'll ask them, why are you doing this? I don't want to be told what to do. I don't want a 9-to-5. I don't want this. I'm like, I didn't ask you that. I asked what you wanted. And they're like, I don't know. I never thought about that. I'm like, I did this because I didn't want those things. And I'm like, well, how's that working? They're like, it's horrible. It's exactly what I don't want is happening. I'm like, so to answer your question is number one, they are reactive. They are running away from a life they don't want, would push them back in it. And I to put it bluntly, they choose ego over economics. They choose their ego to say, that's how I want to do it. This is how I look cool. I see guys that I coach all the time that have these big old lifted trucks. They've got the toys, they've got all stuff, and they have nothing. But it's their ego. They want to look good. They want to look smart. And I'm like, there's no financial acumen. They didn't take time to learn financials or hire a financial person. Hire someone because they don't want to be told the truth.
No.
And so I've just seen that sometimes we gotta be humble. Sometimes you get punched in the face enough times, you go, okay, maybe this hurts. Maybe I should stop doing this. And sadly, they're so used to blame, excuse, and denial. I was taught a term from one of my mentors. It's above the line, below the line. Below the line is blame, excuse, and denial. And above the line is ownership, accountability, and responsibility. So when I look at someone's P&L and they're losing a lot of money, they're like, oh, it's the economy. Customers are cheap. COVID, this and that. That's blame, that's excuse or denial. The ownership would say, you know what? I need to do better. That's on me.
Yep.
I need to be a better leader. I need to take the time to interview and hire the right people. Maybe, a lot of times they think all clients are created equal. They don't even take the time to quantify what is an A client versus what is a D client. So I wish I could say it was one thing.
Sure.
My point is, I don't think it is one thing. I think it starts with the owner, and that is the tipping point of everything from there.
So when a client comes to you and obviously, you share with them some of this and you're talking about how you can potentially work with them and help them. Do you think that, do you see there's obviously a lot of hesitation for people. Is it more they don't think that they have the time to dedicate to working with you and joining a coaching program, or is it they don't think they have the money and aren't willing to make the investments?
Sometimes it's both, right? Sometimes I get people that will tell me, they've got all I had a guy the other day, he's like, yeah, I just don't have the money. I said, you have the money, you're just choosing to put it somewhere else. So that's the reality.
Yeah.
Because you're going to spend the money either way. The bill's going to come due, time or money. And I said, so just say it's not a priority. Say buying this new car is a priority for me.
No.
I'll accept that. I don't accept that you don't have money. You're just choosing to redirect it somewhere else. A lot of times, again, it goes back to the ego and pride of the person. They feel their emotions will tell them that they should do this or do that based on a past experience. Many times, people will carry a future decision based on a past emotional experience. So they will make a decision based on how something happened in the past.
Sure.
And my answer to them is the future them, the future you, he's not in your rearview mirror. The one that's going to take this business and build a business that's running on systems, on autopilot, that's doing 10 million a year. He's not in 2025. He's not in COVID. He's in front of you. The thing is, though, he's hiding behind fear and doubt. And you heard me talk about this today. It's amazing how we will let fear and doubt dictate so much of our lives, so much of our decisions, but we can't see it. We can't touch it. We can't feel it. We can't taste it. But how many times do people let fear drive a decision? And the sad thing is, and I'm sure you've seen it as well, they never get to meet that future version of themselves that's just right on the other side of it.
No.
Because they let it contract them. But the thing is they started this journey, and I see it so much. They've got this passion. They've got this drive. They are just running as hard as they can. Unfortunately, that's motivation. And motivation drains over time like a battery. And they lose it. And they're beat up and they're defeated. And the why, listen, we both know as entrepreneurs, we have bad days. You're going to get punched in the face. Bad things happen to good people. Lawsuits, just things happen that you weren't even a part of. You're like, no, I've got to deal with this. That's the world we chose. That's the sandbox we chose to play in. And a lot of times they come up with these excuses and these reasons based on some past experience. And it takes 75% more energy to focus and deal with a negative emotion that will probably never happen. How many times do we think about something and someone would say like, oh, I'm going to go into my own business. And if you were a little kid and you're like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, they're like, that's great. You can do it. I'm going to be an astronaut. You could do it. I'm going to be president. Well, maybe not that nowadays, but you can do those things.
Yeah.
But at some point as an entrepreneur, when we became adults and you said, I'm going to be a business owner, don't do that. That's stupid. You'll lose everything. And you're like, at what point did that change from I can do anything to now don't do it?
Yeah.
And what it is it's that person's limitations. It's their inhibiting, limiting beliefs. Because if you do it, now I've got to look at myself and go, maybe I need to do it. Like, God, he did it. Like this guy did it. And I tell people all the time, sadly, the circle that you are around is not the circle that's going to get you to where you want to go.
Yeah.
And not always does that circle want to see you succeed. Some of these people you could be related to or even married to, they don't want to see you succeed. Sometimes, I believe our lives are books and books are made of chapters. Chapters begin and chapters end. Our 20s were a chapter. High school was a chapter. I mean, we all have those friends that still live in the high school years, right? They still live in the high school talking about football. They don't know when they end the chapter. And I tell people all the time, the chapter of who you were is not going to get you to the chapter of where you want to go. So you got to end that chapter, start a new chapter.
Sure.
You bring emotion, you may bring some experiences, but you're kind of done with that chapter. And a lot of times people bring that chapter of negative baggage and they don't know how to end it. And so I know it's a long answer to your question, but that's the challenge is they don't know how to detach the emotions from the facts and the figures. And a business is not tied to gut feelings and emotions. A business is tied to data, number, metrics, and facts and figures. And that's it.
So do you have a way to sort of help them understand like the ROI of making an investment in coaching? Because it costs money. It is an investment in your time and your money. How do you really help someone to like see that and understand that from a dollars and cents standpoint?
Well, I can tell you what I do. I can't tell you what other people do. I can tell you what I do. So what I do is I am probably one of the few, if any, people that actually I put my money where my mouth is. And what I mean by that is when someone invests in my coaching program, if they don't get double the investment return, double the investment return, I will give them back all of their money.
Wow.
And I will still work with them till they get the double the investment. So my point is I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I'm saying, I know for a fact, my system is so good. If you get on the calls, you do what you said you're going to do. It's kind of like a trainer at the gym.
Oh.
If you do what you're told to do with our proven system, our sequence works. I'm going to do my part if you agree to do yours. If you do those things and you don't double your investment, I will give you your money back and I will keep working with you. So now I go, I'm putting my money where my mouth is. Are you willing to, I'm betting on me. Are you willing to bet on you?
It's incredible.
And it's like, oh, now I got to perform. Like, you know what? I mean, how badly do you want it?
Yeah. I mean, I love that. Like you are now literally putting
partners.
Skin in the game and are invested in that.
Yeah. And I tell them, worst case scenario, you get your money back and I still work with you for a couple of years. Best case scenario, you're one of my star people on stage at my next conference saying I 5x'd my business because of what Steve and Steve's team did. At some point, I'm taking risk off the table. So now, again, going back to, now it costs you zero.
Yeah.
Now it's a bet on yourself.
That's awesome.
So that's how I can't talk about anyone else, but that's how sure I am. And I've never had to give anyone back their money because it's like, you've got to do what you said because that's, I'm doing my part, you do your part.
Yeah.
So, and it's true. It's like, you run every day, you're going to lose weight. Run every day, eat healthy, do these things, you will lose weight. You're not going to gain weight if you run 20 miles a day, you eat healthy, you don't drink it. You're not going to go like, man, I gained 50 pounds. This is horrible. So that's the model is again, I put my money where my mouth is because I am that sure that we can help you.
Yeah. 20 miles a day would be quite
20 miles a day would be a lot. I could not do that, but I mean, I've heard.
Yeah. It was really neat though, being at your event and part of your community in Houston last month. Like, again, I met, I think, I can't remember if he was like 23, 24, 25 years old, like a young, just started his business, like super excited. But then I also met people who have been doing this for 10, 20, 30 years. Like it's so interesting to see, this span of people coming to you and working with you. Like, I'm curious, like, do you have any sort of favorite, success stories that you could share here?
I have a lot. One thing before I tell you that, I'll tell you, like, some of my clients that what I love about our community is it spans the entrepreneurial universe, meaning there's real estate investors, property managers, contractors, trade, roofing, plumbers. At the end of the day, what I've learned is we're all entrepreneurs, and we're just trying to use this mechanism, which is roofing or plumbing or whatever, to give us the vehicle to have the better life.
Yeah.
And so if you own a coffee business, like one of the guys there, I don't know if you met, he had a very successful coffee business. He has to deal with branding. He has to deal with marketing. He has to deal with employees. He's got time constraints. He's got suppliers. You're telling me as a contractor, you can't learn something from what this guy does? You know, the thing is when you go to an event, right? When you go to a contractor event, let's just say, and everyone's a contractor, everybody's kind of thinking the same thing. And so this pattern interrupt of all of a sudden a real estate property management says, well, we do this, this, and this. And you're like, huh, we have subs, we have employees, we have deals, we have customers. And so what I've learned is we're all the same now. We self-identify. Now, yes, are there good things to learn at contractor conferences? Absolutely. But I'm teaching you how to be the business owner.
Yeah.
I'm teaching you how to become that person. A perfect example, off the top of my head, I was just at his pond event. Bubba, right? Bubba has a pond company. And when we started, he was doing good. Nothing amazing, but good. He was good. I mean, smart guy, very successful. His sales went up 20% in 6 months. His profit margin went from 46 to 84%. He went on a cruise, and this is the important part, and this is the real life shit that people don't talk about. The guy goes on a cruise. His team closes a $62,000 pond contract while he's gone, which is great, right? He wasn't involved in it. That's the dream.
No.
He comes home, messed up his back, has to have back surgery. He's out for like 9 months. His business had to keep running. And I remember he told me, he's like, Steve, if I hadn't met you before and had these systems in place, I don't know that I would be in business. So again, it's not just being the best pond builder, but it's the after effects of, to me, that's a huge success because his family's relying on him. Like, it's not just him and the ego to say, oh, this guy's this, but it's like, you've got family and you got family members and you've got employees, everyone's saying, I'm trusting you. You didn't do your part by building a business that ran without you.
Yeah.
Now you got hurt. Now what? And I mean, how many people do we know? There are one paycheck away from disaster. No. One chicken bus, in Mexico, it's over. They're gone. They're out for 3 weeks and the business collapses. And the fall is much greater than the rise. It's faster and it's ugly and it's scary. And a business has to be running on processes, procedures, and structure. Not on the ego of the owner.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing, you talk about a contractor event. I think one of the interesting things about JobTread Connect, which is our annual user conference where we bring together all these builders and contractors. But like the cool thing is I hear all the time that like people never like would have thought in a million years that like they could learn something, if they're a home builder, but like they're learning from a pool builder or a deck builder, like all these different types of businesses that are coming together, and like you wouldn't normally think, oh, like they're in my market or they're like, doing something similar to me, but like they are. Like, I mean, again, the fundamentals of managing these construction businesses, I mean, it hadn't changed in years, right? Like, I mean, it's all very, very similar, and I think you're absolutely right about that. So anyways, back to like, again, like what if you had to pick one or two sort of favorite like success stories of a client who came in who, was struggling or whatever it may be, like what's the proudest story you've got?
Gosh, I've got a lot of
Not to put you on the spot.
It's to me, it's the guy who doesn't have the team. So I've got a guy, he came over from New Zealand, right? He was, moved over here. He didn't know anything. He wanted to start a construction company. He was like an IT guy, but he couldn't get a job here. So he started a construction remodeling. He was actually out here in Dallas area. And next thing you know, he calls me and he's like, I'm doing 300,000 a month or a year, 300,000 a year in revenue. But I'm working 80 hours a week. I'm not making any money. I don't know how to make this work. And it's grinding me into the ground, but I really, and I've got a visa issue. If I'm not working, I may have to go back. And so he's got some other, political issues of having to go back with the visa without having a job. And I said, listen, do you trust me that I can help? He's like, without a doubt. I said, okay. If you do what I say, this will work. If you don't do what I say, I can't guarantee it. He's like, I'm in. I said, I want you to do everything I tell you. Within 30 days, we took this guy from 300,000 to 500,000 in revenue. 30 days. All because we showed him how to follow our system. Now, this guy he had no team. He was a one-man show. Had no team. He had no systems. He had nothing. And my point, and so these are the things, and again, I've got people that I've taken from 5 million to 10 million. But those, don't get me wrong, those are great, but those aren't the ones that move me as much as the person that comes back and says, thank you for my family. Like, thank you for doing this, because I didn't know what I was going to do. Like, you were my last hope. I'm like, well, you could call me first, but okay. But you know, like those are the ones that the human interaction, the human element. Listen, is it good for my ego that I can take someone from 5 to 10? Absolutely. But the impact are the ones that are struggling, you know. And I tell people all the time, it's not going to get easier. Business, as you grow your business gets harder. You have to get better, and you've got to get better and quicker at solving problems. So my whole thing that I teach people is we are problem solvers. The faster we solve the problem and the bigger problem we solve, the bigger the check. Solve big problems, get paid big money at a very basic level. But to me, the people that I help the best, these lower level people, I hate to say lower level, but the ones that are struggling, the ones that don't know what it's like, they've got a good craft. And you see they have the potential and they want to learn, but no one, you know, and sadly, there are people that take advantage of people. You know, I've got a guy that I remember Bob told me about him, and you know, he spent like $70,000 to rebrand his vehicles. I'm like, because someone said, that's how you market. And I'm like, did somebody tell him that was probably not the best use of his money when he's not making that much money? It's like, no one told him. So sadly, you know, what I've learned is coming from the airline industry of an airline professional. The word professional is not exactly the same when someone says, I'm a professional coach. Different connotation I've learned over the years. And I've been on the bad end of that. I've been taken advantage of. I've been ripped off. But back to your question, it's the little wins. It's the ones when people come up with tears in their eyes and they're like, thank you. They're like, thank you, because I had nowhere to turn. I didn't know what I was going to do. And you gave me hope. You sat and listened to me. And it's the little things. And when I go to conferences, I'm not the guy that comes in and just leaves. I like to meet the people. Like, you know, some of the people, they go to like your conference, right? And a big speaker and big name speaker. And I understand, I get it, right? I've spoken on very, very big stages with big names. But to me, it's part of the journey. Like that's why we're here. Yeah. We're here to give back. We're here to get to meet these people. And I get to hang out with them. And most people, it's funny, a lot of people that end up becoming my clients are like, Steve, do you know why I signed up? I'm like, because of the program. They're like, because you hung out and I got to know you and I got to talk with you and I got to understand the real you. And now I realize that I'm not alone.
No.
And just that alone was the switch that helped me. So I don't think all successes are just monetary. I think some of them are internal to where they have this, they're a new person. You know, as some of the people here are coaches, clients that I coach, and I see them walking differently.
No.
They just have a different nod to them, a different smirk on their face, a different smile, because they're thinking differently. They just go, okay, there is a way to get to the next level. I'm not crazy.
No.
It is hard, but there is a path. And so that, to me, those are the wins that I like.
No, I totally agree. You know, I think I'll never forget. I mean, this couple literally came up to us at the end of our event and told us that, you know, they had been involved in, you know, our program for a little while, and they basically had said that, like, we single-handedly saved their marriage. Wow. And I was like, sorry, but how did software save your marriage?
Yeah.
And they said, because we were about to like kill each other, and just like, you know, like we're literally trying to make ends meet. We can't get along for the life of us because neither one of us was organized. We were just stressing out.
Yeah.
And like, we just brought this like system to their lives, which, you know, again, I was like, I don't know if I recommend a husband and wife go into business together if you're already, you know, struggling with other things. But like, you know, again, like the tears in their eyes and like the fact that they literally said like they have never been on better, you know, solid ground together as not only a married couple, but also as business partners. And like, they now see the light at the end of the tunnel. Like it's the stories like those that are just like so moving to you. And there's not a dollars and cents, you know, behind it. It's like, just like you literally saw two new people, you know, who have come together.
And you know what I'll say, Eric, is we go to these events, you go to events, I go to events, and I get to speak on these stages and I get to meet people. And what is always interesting to me is like everyone in that room has a story.
No.
Every one of those people that walk out of there, they've got, they've got good days, bad days, they've got money problems. They have a story. There's like a trail behind them. And when I travel the world, sometimes I'll go to Frankfurt, Germany or something, and I'll just have a coffee and just sit and just watch the world go by. And I think every one of these people has a past, they've got a future, and they've got a current, and they've got a life going.
No.
And so when I go to these conferences and I get to talk to people, they're starving to talk. They want to tell you their lives. That maybe they want some guidance, they want some assurances. But every single one of them has like this story. And so to be dismissive of them, I think I think it's rude. I think it's not congruent with who I am. But I think at some point, like they just want to have that human interaction. And to your point about going to events, in-person events, I think the best thing about in-person events, like your event and events that I do, is just getting to shake someone's hand, look them in the eye. You get that, we are pack animals. We like to be around, yes, Zooms and all these things are great. They're efficient. But they're also, it takes away one of our senses of actually human contact. So listen, I think AI is great. But the problem with AI is everyone's perfect now. You wouldn't see a fucked up presentation in AI and go, that looks good. They're all perfect.
Yeah.
And I think the challenge with that is it starts taking the authenticity out of the person. So that when you actually go somewhere and you meet someone and you shake their hand, you look at them in the eye and you go, this is a real person. So I think in-person events are going to come back, maybe not as big as they used to be. I don't know if they will. I don't know. But I think the in-person events where like you're doing downstairs, you're getting that interaction where you're getting that authenticity. Could you do that online? Absolutely. You could just do online classes, not have anyone, but I don't think that you're going to get the same interaction that you are getting from these people and the buy-in and the allegiance to your brand because they're here and they're seeing that there are people here. These aren't bots. You've got a lot of people working here and they're humans and they shake your hand and they talk to you and they check on you. And I think those emotions go a long way.
No, I couldn't agree more. And we do the online training just the same. You can literally go to, an online, workshop, for all day, or you can come here in person for 2 days. Like, but you're so right. It's about making the connections, and it's more than like, they are definitely going to learn how to implement JobTread in the course of 2 days.
Sure.
But it's like everything else, like so many people after the event come up and say, man, like the training was great, but like I had no idea that you were going to, come in and actually talk to us about leadership and bring in, these guest speakers and like give us like that motivation and like your the whole company and how we set up like to be a role model and an inspiration to these people. Like those are the memories that they're really walking away with.
Yeah.
They could have gotten the training online and watched all that, but it's like, I think there is something to that. And like, I've always been a big believer in like, there's an energy when people get in the room. That's why like we literally have no one remote. Like we don't do any remote. We don't outsource. Like I have believed from the very beginning and always have in all my companies, like you've got to come together and be together. And that's the culture.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And I don't think that that's lost. I think, listen, I get financially, it makes sense. I understand that. But I do think it's missing an element. I think there's a human element that is missing in a lot of companies. And I think that's why a lot of companies have that inauthenticity. And I think a lot of the inauthenticity comes because they don't do human interaction. And I think it's a mistake. And I think they're missing the mark.
Sure.
Can they be successful? Depending on how you define success. If the success is the P&L and that's your balance sheet and that's your definition of success, absolutely. I don't define it as success because I believe as a human, we are here for human interaction. And that's what I love doing. And that's what I love about being a coach is being able to talk to people, I go to an event and I've got clients that are here and they're like, I get to hang out with them and they talk to me and it's not like, oh, don't talk to me. I love that. I really do. And I think that they appreciate that people like you and I will go and talk to them and listen to them and tell me what's going on. How can I help you? And they go like, wow, this guy's a real person. He talked to me. So I think that's
absolutely. I mean, it's the, it's the emotion, the confidence that they have, like, the leader that they become. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think the P&L can be a great way to set goals, to quantify your performance and give you those benchmarks to look back and are we hitting our goals? But you're right. Like just hitting a goal does not mean that you are successful.
Correct.
There's so much more to it. So
absolutely.
Again, I love what you guys are doing. I mean, I think, I don't know if I told you, but I think like one of the best moves you ever made was bringing Bob Turner on board. He was one of our very first customers at JobTread. I think, the world of this guy, he's, just been one of the few people that I know at the end of the day if I ever needed anything, he would 100% drop what he's doing. He would help out, you know, and he does it in a way where he's not expecting anything in return. I think a lot of times you do meet people that don't have the experience. They're trying to, you know, say that they can help you. They're trying to pretend like they can be a coach, but like, you know, you, Bob, you've lived it yourselves.
Yeah.
You have literally solved your own problems. You have conquered your own challenges. Yeah. And I think, you know, just when I saw you bring him onto your team, like I knew this is going to be something big, you know, and I think it's exciting to see though, because like, I think that there are so many people, like, I mean, literally, like, I think every contractor could benefit by joining the program that you're creating. And like, you know, there's so many people, they just don't know what they don't know. And they don't know, you know, what challenges they're going to have, not, you know, maybe not tomorrow, but like the next month or the next quarter, the next year. And like being able to join up and be surrounded by people who literally have the experience, who have proven it for themselves. Yeah. You know, like it's all about becoming, you know, part of that greater community. And that's what I love that you guys are building that. Like, I love the event that you put on. Like, I saw the passion. Yeah. You know, a lot of people tell me I'm a very clearly passionate guy too. I saw it from you. I saw it from Bob. I saw it from the rest of your speakers. And like, that's exciting to see, because like, that is what I believe we need. You know, my favorite saying is like, a rising tide lifts all boats. And it's like, we have to elevate every contractor to be able to elevate the entire industry.
Absolutely.
We can't leave those guys that are cutting the corners, that are struggling, that can barely make ends meet. Like, we can't leave them behind either, because like, you know, they are the ones that are going to give the industry as a whole a bad rap. They're going to create the fear for the homeowner or for the end customer.
Partnership.
Because they didn't manage their business. Now they're out of business. Now they can't take care of that warranty claim. Now they can't, you know, fulfill what they said they were going to do. And like, I think that's the challenge here. And so like the more of this like movement that we can create towards like getting people involved and believing in themselves, believing that they can be a great leader, and then having that transfer to their team, where they're leading a team, they're coaching their team, they're training their team, you know, to be the best that they possibly can. Like, that's how we change this industry.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, it's interesting. So I've coached people here, and I've got some clients that are in Australia. They call them tradies there in the trade industry. But very similar challenges, right? And so what you realize is it's universal. It's not just segmented to Dallas, Texas, or Texas, or the U.S. Because it's a human, right? At the end of the day, we are in the people business, and we're not in the hammer business. You know, if you think about this, like a contractor has a toolbox, and they have a hammer. What is that hammer worth? Well, if they don't do anything with it, it's worth nothing. But if they can take that and they can hammer and they can build a house, well, it's worth what somebody will pay. But if you take that hammer and build a $100,000 house, or do you take that hammer and build $1 million house? So that hammer could be worth $1 million, or it could be worth $100,000. But it's just a hammer. And what other tools are in their toolbox? So they could have the best tools in the world, but if they're hammering the wrong stuff, or they don't understand it, or they're looking from, you know, and again, I use the hammer, they're mental. But when you think about it, all of a sudden they're talking to someone else and say, why are you hammering that $100,000 house when you can go hammer this $1 million house? Same hammer, same exact tool, same nails, but just making more per hit.
No.
And so sometimes, like you said, you get into an environment where people care.
No.
And it's not this constrictive mentality. It's not this bravado of, you know, listen, I have zero ego. If someone says, Steve, you suck, I'm like, okay, that's fine. Maybe I do. I don't know. But I just want to help people. No. And I really do. And again, that's why if it was about money, I guarantee you I would not do a money back guarantee. I mean, you know what I mean? That would be stupid, right? But because I believe so much, there's a reason I do it. I do it because I know I am not going to let you fail. I am not going to let you quit. Like, you're not quitting. That's just not happening. You sign up, we are going the distance, and I will drag you across the goal line. I tell people, listen, I can be nice or I can be honest, and sometimes I can't be both. When you hire me, I am here to help you succeed, but not just for you. You've got family, you've got employees, you've customers. It's no longer about you. When you decided to hang that shingle to be the business owner, you have to understand. And again, going back to my community, everyone in the community understands it. Like, I do something even different. A lot of times when I have people that are contractors, and I'll say, hey, why don't you go spend a day with this contractor at his office, shadow him. And so I will set it up between people that I coach, and so meet so-and-so. He's coming out for the day, and he's going to shadow you for a day or two. No problem. I've had people, different industries. Hey, go with this person for a day. Go to New Mexico and spend a day with this guy and see how he does his culture. So I can see where they're lacking. And because I have such a big pool, I can say, go look at this guy, not even in your industry, but he knows how to build culture, and see how he does that. How do you pay? You can't buy that. You can't get access to that.
No.
But that's what a community does. And that's, like you said, that's the rising tide lifting all ships. If someone's lacking in something, at some point, you just have to make a decision. And you just have to decide, do I want a better life? And am I willing to do what it takes? I don't believe that, being however somebody quantifies success, whether it's money or, awards or just the freedom, everybody has a different measurement tool for success. But you got to work at it.
Yep.
Nothing, like I hear these people like, oh, I don't want to work. I'm like, that's not, I don't, maybe it does. And I just haven't found it. Everyone I know that's successful. Now, they put measurements on their success and how hard and what they do. One of my mentors a long time ago, he said, Steve, the best successful word you can learn is no. And he goes, it's the power of, and he goes, because when you're saying yes to everything, you are saying no to everything else.
No.
And normally you're saying yes to the low level, low enjoyment, low productive, low revenue producing tasks. That's what you are saying yes to. And you're saying no to the high level, high income. So again, my point is if you don't have a community to teach you this, how are you going to learn it?
No.
You're probably not.
No. Well, look, man, I really appreciate this discussion and everything that you've shown with us. I'm curious if you could give, one last nugget, one last piece of advice or takeaway for all of our audience out there, what would it be?
Start with the end. Start with the end. Create your final destination of your business. Very specific, a day, a month, a year. Pinpoint the amount of revenue, the amount of profit margin you want to have, the amount of hours you're willing to be away from your family to be in this business. Figure that out. Have your final destination and do everything you can to reverse engineer it, to build your foundation before you start building and putting on top of it. If you do it that way, yes, it's boring. It's not sexy. It's not fun, but that is what you do to build a sustainable business model that lasts generational.
Love it, man. That's awesome. Great advice.
Thank you.
Lastly, how can anyone who wants to learn more about what you're doing, how you could help them, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
Yeah, the easiest way is to find me online, steverozenberg.com, ROZENBERG.com. I'm on all the social media channels. I'm sure if you plug my name in, you'll see a bunch of stuff. But, my thing is if you need help and you just need a conversation that you don't even know if you need coaching or you just want advice, I don't need to coach you to give you advice. I'm not that guy. Like somebody calls me, I was always taught to be respectful. If somebody calls you and asks you for something, I was taught by my parents, you are respectful and you return that call. That's what you do. So I'm the guy that will call you back and people think, oh, is this really Steve? I'm like, yeah, it's really me. Like I'll send you a picture of me just so you know. But so if somebody wants something or they're just curious or they're stuck and they're not sure which way to go, shoot me a text, find me on social media. I will answer. It will be me. I will answer. I will give you my time if that's what it takes. So you can find me online, find me on social media, any of those mediums.
I can vouch for that right then and there. I mean, again, I know you to be a very, outstanding person who truly wants to help other people. Yeah. Same with Bob, same with the rest of your organization. Yeah. It's so refreshing to see that, there are good people out there who truly do put their clients first, put others first, want to help others succeed, and ultimately get that intrinsic, value and knowing that you're helping others. Like that is what this world needs more of. So appreciate you being here. Proud to call you a friend, a colleague, a partner, whatever you want to do.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
I thank you so much for everything you do for our community and for the industry as a whole.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Builder Stories. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and gained valuable insights that can help you in your journey along the way. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and leave us a review. And as always, if you or someone you know has a story to share, please contact us at builderstories.com. We'd love to hear from you. I'm Eric Fortenberry, and remember, every builder has a unique story. Keep building yours.